All right. So we come to the place where I feel God is saying the time at Chapel is up. Me, I knew I'm going to retire in Nairobi Chapel. That's all I knew, and I knew, and I was happy. And God says, I'm going to reassign you.
What's your role at that time?
So at that time, Bishop Oscar was a senior pastor.
Yes.
So then I was number 2. And my role was basically to oversee. He's the visionary. He's the one giving us a big picture.
CEO.
Yes. So my role was to really, and I think it's a very important thing for people to sometimes understand. You're not there to jostle for position, power, and things with your CEO. There are times, especially when you have a very visionary CEO.
Yep.
And they're moving and they're choleric. They're moving, they said things and they're moving. Your work is actually to get that, understand what it is, break it down for the rest of the generals and army behind you, and then keep making sure we are moving. And then there's that role sometimes, especially as a choleric, very fast moving person, it's very easy also to step on people. And they don't stop to see what happened there.
Yeah.
But somehow my personality and also my role, I'm very pastoral. And I'm able to stop and think, okay, when he said that, somebody twitched there. And I tell him, actually, when you made that, and I learned, never confront your leader in public or in the presence of anybody. Even a man. I'd say this to women. It's not, it doesn't matter how high you are in a position as a woman, even in the corporate world, there's a way you interact with men, even if it's not your husband. And for most men, their language is just simple respect. Even a junior gardener, I could tear him down in front. Why didn't you do this? But remember, he's somebody's husband. He's somebody's father. I could call him to my office and just say, the garden is looking very bad. And I'm really relying on you to get this thing done. How he will handle that and how you build that, it's amazing. And so for me, I learned very early, we're not in competition. I need to understand my role, I need to understand my calling, and I need to know if I fail here to understand and to help my CEO, then I'm failing a lot of people behind me. Okay. All right? And so it's a very unique role where I call it the second chair role. And you need to understand. You may not be the visionary. You may not be able to sit at the board table. You may not be, but there are things that unless you break and keep that person accountable and help this person keep connected to the teams. And there are many times it asks me, how did you know that about so-and-so? I'm like, but I'm on the ground. And it's not Mushene, it's not, how did you know so-and-so's husband? I'm like, but I'm on the ground, And it's my work to break it down for you to know so-and-so is going through this, so-and-so is doing this. And I really thank God.
And also you don't want him on the ground.
Yes, you don't want him on the ground.
You want him flying visionary.
Yes, and just helping us move. And so for me, that was a very unique role. And then I also learned how to handle things with my CEO. Those open confrontations, however right you are, won't work. But finding that time after the meeting, or just even saying respectfully, could we differ on that decision? There are 2 or 3 options or things that we may not bring at the table. And that allows you to go on the side with your CEO and say, actually, I feel strongly 1, 2, 3. But you see, I can't bring those cards there when I'm playing. And so now everybody's looking, are these 2 fighting or not? You know? So there are those things you need to learn your leader. And you need to learn, how do we get where we need to be without it being a power show, without it feeling like I feel less than. This guy is just walking all over us. In any relationship, whether in leadership, it's like putting money in your bank account or even loading credit if you are a prepaid subscriber. You come to a place, if even tokens on electricity, if the amount is down, it's down. Yeah? You won't be able to, and I feel relationally is the same thing. We must keep loading credit into each other. whether it is my senior, whether it's my junior. Because the day I need to cash out, when I'm maybe rebuking or when I'm confronting something, there's a lot of credit. But if every day I'm on your case, and there's nothing I'm putting in, it wears down very fast. But if I've been loading credit in how we are talking, there are good times, the day we come to have a big fight, even in marriage, even if I get off 85%, there's still 15%.
You're not fully zaring.
Yeah. You can't fully zar in some relationship. Yeah. So for me, it was been a great honor to serve under several of the pastors at the chapel. And in many ways, they are brothers. In many ways, they are colleagues. In many ways, we've done life together.
Yeah.
And I am grateful as a woman that I've not had to feel that pressure, that I'm being sidelined. Or some people felt when I later left chapel that I had hit the glass ceiling and I left in a half, which is not. So when we moved to Gong Road, it was very clear God was saying, I've only brought you as a bridge. I didn't understand it at that time. But one day I remember when we had settled at Gong Road, it was not as is now. It's black cotton, it was horrific. People used to come to church in gumboots. It was horrific. We were in debt because we had not understood how much we needed to, and it was just crazy. And I remember during that time, there was a time Bishop also went away for 6 months. And he told me, now, you are it. Remember before I used to have Pastor M? Yes. And that the other 3, now I was on my own, you are it. And we're in debt. Yep. And what? Somehow by God's grace, we're able to sort out our debt. Somehow by God's grace, we're able to do a lot of things. And I remember when he came back, he's like, it's like people didn't miss me. And we kept laughing about that. But we came to a point after a couple of years. Now at that time I'm doing a lot of admin. I'm preaching, yes, but a lot of admin work and supporting my CEO. And I came to a point where I felt clearly God saying, the time at chapel is up. The church has now passed the bridge and settled.
But what year is this now?
This is about 2012, I believe.
Can I ask a question just before we get there?
Yes.
And on City, I don't like asking questions that I feel overstep the guest. But if you feel the need to answer, if not, I'll move on. And I won't even put this in the camera, in the shot. Marriage, and then the next trajectory in a situation like this is children. Is that something that you're thinking about at that time?
Yeah, so I can go back to that at cut number 8. At
cut number 8,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so we come to the place where I feel God is saying, the time at chapel is up. Me, I knew I'm going to retire in Nairobi Chapel. That's all I knew, and I knew, and I was happy. And God says, I'm going to reassign you.
Okay.
But there are some spiritual gifts I've given you that I'll keep you accountable to. They are not contained only in an office. So the preaching gifts I've given you, I still want you to use them. The gifts of service and ministry, the gifts of giving, all those things. As a faithful child of, no, it doesn't. You're not a pastor. Even if you're not pastor on Sunday, you remain that. But I'm reassigning you. So at that point, chapel was planting churches, many churches. So I thought God is now going to call me by force to plant a church, and maybe it's calling me to go, because chapel was also planting churches out of Kenya.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, I think this is the time God is reassigning me. And so I thought within 3-6 months, I will get to know. So even when I left chapel, people thought I was joking, that I didn't know where I was going.
For real?
Yes, I did. I just knew the time is up. So I did spend some time with Bishop. We talked about it. He was like, hey, how?
In Bishop's eyes, weren't you the one to take over chapel?
So we were leaning towards that during that time.
Yes.
But now God is saying something totally different.
So you are the one who goes to tell him?
Yes.
And this is also to clear air.
Yes.
To clear the air.
Yes.
You are the one who tells him,
yes,
God is telling me not to do this.
And then God begins to do little things here and there, and now this is the one of, you see, if I was holding a sweetie and you tell me release and I do this, it's very painless.
Yes.
But if I was holding it and you have to pry it out of it would be very painful. So I'm hearing, but I'm thinking, but I love it here. So I'm holding back a bit, and then things begin to happen, and you're like, hey, this is going to be a painful process. I might as well just say, Lord, here I am.
Wow.
I don't know where you're going. Me, I love it here. I love it 100%, but I'm trusting you.
Pastor Janet, you left Chapel
at the height of where I could have, yeah. But I didn't leave.
Okay.
We're coming to that. I'm still in Chapel, but not Sunday. I'm not on their payroll. Let me say that.
Yes. No, even yes.
Yes.
But at that time, you're exiting.
Exiting completely.
Is this when Goi came?
No, Goi had been there. We were with Goi for a while.
And then Goi went into elections, politics.
Late, around the time when I was exiting is when Goi went into politics. Because I remember during that time when he got very beaten, he'd come and would come lick his wounds in my house. When I was in sabbatical, it was a very funny time in our lives, but yeah, so it was just before.
Okay.
And when I got, it was very clear. So I remember sharing with my husband, and it's very important to be in sync with your partner, your spouse. And we prayed about it and said, I don't understand, but I'm not sensing anything different. Not that there's anything bad. There were people who thought there must be moral failure. Chapel is just covering. How is it? There must be a custody. There's no way you can be just living when you have been part of the brand, so to speak.
Yeah.
And at the height of my career as a woman, everything, or this one wanted to be senior pastor and they denied her and she had decided, I'm going off in a half. There are too many stories. But at the end of the day, you can't stand in a stage or church to tell people. In fact, sometimes the more you try and tell, they'll think, now you see.
Yes.
You see, now they are covering. So we remained good friends. I mean, even till today, I currently serve as the chair of the Elders Court at Nairobi Chapel.
What explained the structure of Nairobi Chapel? So there's the elders.
So we have the elders, and then we have various senior pastors, and within the different churches, we have what we call advisory committees of the different churches. But we're in a place where we made ourselves stop to put a structure, a more defining structure. Because see, this church grew so fast, and things have moved so fast, so that we look at the structures and we feel, we've overgrown our structures, and it's time to now sit down and ask. So before, the elders were the elders of Nairobi Chapel. The elders were the elders of these 5 churches. But now, by the time you have a church in Kilifi, you have a church in Kitui, and where, all those places. So you are elders of. So we are trying to answer that question, and so we're actually currently in a space where we are working on how are we going to be structured. Then are we a denomination? Are we a movement? Who are we? An association of churches? Who are we? So we're answering that big question now, and then putting those structures, and even at a place we are reworking our constitution to fit this new big organization that is now grown beyond what would ever have imagined. And give the context,
how many churches are we talking about right now?
You see now again, like when you say Mavuno is a daughter church of Chapel, but then Mavuno has daughters, the daughters have daughters. So when we put all those together, there are over 300 and something churches.
Across how many countries?
I would need to check on that. I don't know that, but we have quite a few countries. I know we have Botswana, what is this? Uganda, yes. We have a church in
Dubai,
Botswana. Yes, we have a partnership with a church in Dubai. So several of our pastors who've been here now have been seconded. Actually, several team members, pastors and all, have been seconded to that church in Dubai. And of course, Mavuno has the church in Berlin. When you come to Mamlaka, they have Mombasa, you have the churches all over. Kisumu, small areas. And then we have churches that we call the faith churches within low-income areas. Like some of the slum areas, you find the faith churches. So they're also part of that, so that it's not just within the upmarket or middle class areas. So again, nobody would ever have foreseen this kind of growth. It's just something that just boom.
And what you're saying now is you are now part of the elders.
Yes.
Okay.
So
and you chair that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's progressive, because now we are saying not only are ladies on the elders board, you're chairing. You're the chair of that. Okay. And also, you're still part of chapel.
Yes, I'm still part of chapel.
So that should coincide.
I preach in the different churches when I'm needed to. So all those things I did as a pastor, I've not stopped doing.
Okay.
Just I'm not on the payroll. And then, so I took a year out.
That must have been hard.
It was very hard.
It's all you've known your life.
Now when I look back, it's like a grief. It's like somebody died, but we have no body to bury.
Oh.
That kind of. Because you see, again, even though I had formed other relationships, this was still my place of work. This was still my relationships. There was what I had known, the responsibilities I had. And it's very true, the phone stops ringing. The email stopped coming. I had never thought about it that way until... And I remember one time meeting Pastor Goi outside, because when we now agreed about my exit or transition out, we decided to work on it for a year. So for the first 6 months, I was in chapel, and we now shared this with the congregation, but said, in another year is when she will transition. Because again, we took a whole year to transition out. So the last 6 months, I was not in chapel in the office. What we did is I was given, I think, 10 responsibilities where I could work from home, I could work from out of the country, and those were things I was supposed to just make sure we put in place before my actual transition.
And who are you delegated to, Pastor Nick, at this time?
Nick was in charge of Pastor Oscar was still there. Nick was our youth pastor. Yes. So Nick had come in as our youth pastor, but I remember one time looking at Nick and I told Bishop, this man, we need to look at him. This is senior pastor material. And Nick is doing an excellent job, really proud of him and what he's doing out there, both inside and outside the church. And so for me, stepped out in faith, didn't know. So I told my husband, I'm taking 3 months to rest because it was tiring. By month 3, I think my body's like, oh, we're allowed to rest. My body shut down. And so I kept thinking, I'm not even ready to go to another assignment load. I just want to rest. And so I think my husband very wisely looked at it and said, you know, you've never had a real sabbatical in all these years of ministry, where you just take some time out, no responsibilities, nothing. Let's trust God for our finances, but step out for a year.